What if that profound, just gut-wrenching anguish you feel isn't because you made a mistake like a calculation error or you said a careless word, but because in that moment you genuinely believe that you are the mistake?
That shift right there, that's everything. It's the critical difference between a healthy human feeling like regret and something far, far more debilitating.
We're doing a deep dive today into shame, and I think we need to clarify this right away. Shame isn't just one thing. It actually plays two completely different roles in our lives.
Exactly. And only one of them is constructive. People hear the word shame and they immediately think it's this terrible, toxic thing.
But it isn't always. Healthy shame is, well, it's actually necessary. Let's
Yeah.
use a scenario to nail down the difference. Say you completely miss an important deadline at work.
Okay. So if you experience healthy shame, which is, basically guilt, it focuses on what you did. It helps you see the misstep. You feel bad that you missed the deadline.
Right, so you apologize, you talk to the people affected, maybe you set up a new system so it won't happen again.
It's a tool, a mechanism for moral correction, for repair. It's focused on the action. I did a bad thing.
But toxic shame, that's a whole different story. The narrative doesn't stop at the action. It immediately tells you that you're not just unreliable. It tells you that you are fundamentally flawed, broken.
Unworthy of being trusted?
Yeah.
Or even forgiven. It's so much deeper than just guilt because it attacks your entire sense of self. Healthy shame says, I messed up.
And toxic shame says, I'm a mess.
That's it. And that brings us to the core mission of this deep dive. We have to understand that toxic shame is not innate. You weren't born with it.
It's learned. And once we can recognize its voice, which can be surprisingly persuasive, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. But once you hear it,
Yeah.
you can start the process of silencing it. And that's the path to, real self-acceptance.
So let's spend some time on that core conflict, this idea of action versus identity.
Yes, because it's the most critical step. With healthy shame, the feeling is tied to a specific behavior. Because the focus is external, the thing you did. You have the power to fix it.
You can apologize for it or change things for the future, but the second that perception warps and you start seeing yourself as the failure instead of the person who just failed at one task.
That's when the toxicity sets in.
So where does it come from? If we aren't born with this crippling self-hatred, where do we pick it up?
It has a clear genesis.
Yeah.
You were not born feeling this way. Toxic shame is learned from environments that didn't have unconditional acceptance. It comes from, harsh criticism in childhood or constantly trying to meet these perfectionistic expectations.
So from parents or teachers?
Authority figures, yeah. Or even traumatic experiences where a person incorrectly internalizes what happened as proof that they are somehow defective.
So if you're repeatedly told what you're doing isn't good enough, over time your brain just translates that into, I am not good enough.
Precisely. It's an external message that gets borrowed and internalized until it sounds like your own voice. It becomes your inner critic.
Okay, so let's unpack the 6 ways this really shows up, the traps that keep us in this relentless loop.
These are the voices and behaviors you might recognize in yourself. The first one is probably the most exhausting. It's hiding the real you. We call it the mask.
The constant fear that if people really knew you, they'd run for the hills.
Exactly. If they knew the messy, insecure, doubtful parts of you, they'd judge you or just cut you off. Now, everyone fears vulnerability to some extent, but toxic shame makes it feel like a survival threat.
So you spend all this energy putting on a performance, curating this image of being happy or competent or totally stable, just to keep that shame hidden.
And here's the tragic irony in all of this. The more you hide, the stronger the shame actually gets. By hiding your true self, you're just reinforcing the belief that the real you is unacceptable.
Wow. So the only way out is to let someone in.
Even just a little. Let one trusted person see a tiny piece of it. Being seen and heard, even when it's scary, is the only thing that proves the shame wrong.
That leads right into the second trap, which is so common, the double standard of forgiveness. You give grace to everyone but yourself.
This is such a brutal cycle. When a friend messes up, you're the first one to say, hey, it's okay, we all stumble, you'll do better next time. You treat them like a human being.
But when you make the exact same mistake, what happens?
The inner monologue just erupts. That's so stupid. I should have known better. Why couldn't I handle that? There's just no sense of proportion.
So why do we do that? Why are we so much harder on ourselves?
Well, society often teaches us that self-reliance and achievement are everything. So being kind to yourself can feel like, like you're making excuses or being weak.
So toxic shame demands you punish yourself first, like a preemptive strike.
Yes. I'll be harder on myself than anyone else could be. The way to interrupt that is to consciously visualize treating yourself the way you treat a good friend. If you wouldn't say it to them, you can't let that voice say it to you.
Okay, that makes sense. And that relates to the third trap, perfectionism as imprisonment.
Oh, this one is huge. Toxic shame tells you that you have to be flawless to be loved or even accepted.
And this isn't about healthy striving. This is a desperate, exhausting quest to finally feel good enough.
It's like climbing a ladder that has no top rung. The finish line just keeps moving because the goal isn't really excellence. The goal is safety from judgment.
So perfectionism is a trap. It's not a strength.
It's a prison because it invalidates who you are right now in favor of some impossible future version of yourself. True self-worth comes from accepting that imperfection is just part of the deal.
Which brings us to trap number 4, feedback as a verdict. How does this work?
Well, with healthy shame, you can take constructive criticism. Your boss says, this report needs to be more concise, and you hear, okay, I need to edit this section. It's just information, a tool for growth.
But with toxic shame,
That same comment feels like a punch to the gut. You immediately hear, I'm terrible at my job, they're going to find out I'm an imposter.
it becomes personal instantly.
It fuses your skill with your identity. To break this, you have to consciously label the feeling as it happens. Tell yourself, this is not a verdict on me. It is information about a task.
And then there's the trap that just drains your mental energy. Overthinking every mistake. The perpetual replay.
This is being stuck in a rumination loop. You just replay every awkward comment, every bad decision for days, sometimes weeks.
Like thinking about something you said in a job interview 2 years ago.
Exactly. And the most exhausting part is you assume everyone else is judging you as harshly as you're judging yourself.
But they're not, are they?
Almost certainly not. It's called the spotlight effect. We all massively overestimate how much other people are paying attention to our small stumbles. Most people are busy worrying about their own.
So that replay in your head, it's just reinforcing the shame.
It is. You have to find a way to interrupt it. Consciously forgive yourself for being human and redirect your energy to the present moment.
Okay, so the final trap, number 6.
This is the big one. Believing the inner critic. And the key here is to realize this critic is using a borrowed voice.
What do you mean by a borrowed voice?
I mean, the way you talk to yourself, that harsh, cutting monologue, it often sounds a lot like voices you grew up hearing. An overbearing parent, a critical teacher.
So that voice isn't actually you.
It is not your authentic identity. It was shaped by your experiences. It probably started as a weird kind of protective mechanism, a way to anticipate judgment and keep you in line. But then it became your default setting.
So the first step is to recognize it, to ask, whose voice is this, really?
Exactly. So how do we actually unlearn all this? How do we break free from these 6 traps?
It has to start with reflection, right? You have to shine a light on where these messages came from.
You do. You have to really ask yourself, what toxic things was I told growing up? How did those messages shape what I believe about my own worth today?
And once you see the source.
Then the real work begins.
Yeah.
Active reframing. You have to consciously challenge that internal narrative and replace it with something kinder.
So when the critic screams, you are a failure.
You have to stop, acknowledge the feeling, and then consciously, deliberately replace it with a truthful statement.
Something like, I made a mistake, but that doesn't define me. I can learn from this and move forward.
That's precisely it. That conscious replacement is the daily work. Toxic shame is a learned response. And because it was learned, it can be unlearned. Every mistake becomes an opportunity to think differently about yourself.
Transformation happens in those small moments when you choose compassion over judgment.
It does. It's about choosing to be kind to yourself.
So let's try to embrace our imperfections. You are not your mistakes. You are your potential.
And with every fall, you gain wisdom. Every time you consciously forgive yourself, you create a little more space for freedom and growth. That commitment to self-compassion is the ultimate act of reclaiming who you are.
So think about that ultimate act of self-liberation. What small piece of your past, what old mistake, what deep insecurity are you ready to forgive yourself for today?